Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from Passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello, welcome back to All for United. There's only the one game to cover this week on Reds Weekly, but what a game it was. Not going to complain about the game and the occasion that we all saw yesterday. So we're going to talk a bit about United Women's, and towards the end of the show, we'll talk a little bit about the United board and trying to move this positivity over to the men's side, because there's not too much to be positive about over there at the moment. So we'll get into all of that. Make sure you get any questions, any comments in, and all things like that, and we'll go through them all. Let's see how everybody is. John, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Yeah, not too bad. It's a bit like all the hard work that everyone put in in the week building up to Old Trafford, and it's all kind of over in there, and it's settle down and obviously enjoy the moment yesterday. And yeah, it's I just want to put a big shout out to the club and to the journalists and to all the fans, for really raising awareness for that week. I think everyone stepped up, and it was just a fantastic atmosphere on the day. And yeah, just on that come down now, really, where it's kind of over with, and just reflect and remember a few good moments.
Yeah, definitely. And that for yourself, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm tired, very tired, and I've had a long day today, and I just, I suppose, get back on track. I think we were nervous at points, worried about what would happen, but, like you said, it's done, and it's about building on it and growing now.
Yeah, 100%. We'll start off just talking about kind of the pre-match stuff and everything around it. Because obviously, as you mentioned there, you both mentioned it, that the club put a lot in the week, especially the week leading up. There was a lot of content to go through. There was a lot of interviews. A lot of journalists were around publishing all kinds of articles. So, John, I'll just come to yourself in terms of the pre-game promotion, and even on the day, there was a lot. We've spoken about on the last show that there was a lot to do outside the ground. Especially for families and kids and things like that. It just felt like a good kind of almost carnival atmosphere, didn't it, before the game? Yeah,
I mean the actual day itself. Yeah, absolutely. I think the club put on a show. It was, I keep using the word event, because that's what it was. It wasn't just a 90-minute match, and whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, some people may just want to see it as a football match, but it was an event because they done something different, didn't they? They hosted the women's team instead of the men's team, and like I say, fair play to the club for actually going above and beyond and creating memories. That's the thing, people went there. Obviously, MUTV was there. People were face painting, the pictures that people were having on the throne thing, and all the artwork, photography. It was fantastic. I mean, that was there earlier than us, so I don't know if anything else was going on there, but obviously Natalie will say that in shortly. But the week building up to it was second to none. It was great. If we could just put 25% of that in every week, absolutely brilliant. It probably took a little bit too long to get started, if I have to be a bit critical. I mean, the week building up to it was great. Could we have done a bit more, in the build up to that, maybe? But yeah, it was really good to see, and all the interviews that came out with obviously Tooney, David De Gea was obviously with Mary as well. Yeah, there's lots of content, which is what fans want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And same question for yourself. Now, how were you kind of feeling going up to the game in terms of everything that was, like I said, all the promotion, all the content, and before the game itself on match day?
Yeah, I mean, John said about event, but every time you go to Old Trafford, it is an event because, we talk about that throne that was there, but usually you do go up to Old Trafford and someone's got a replica Premier League or a replica, Champions League Cup, and you can get pictures taken with them. There's always the scarf sellers, there's always the fanzine sellers. So to sort of say, oh, that was there and I just want to care about the football. There's times when I've been and they've had, things going on in the cages and you can get pictures taken outside in front of the Trinity with different kind of, memorabilia. So for me, it was exactly like a men's game. Like you say about the build-up and all the media, for me, I think I don't know if it's sort of what you said, John, but yeah, you can. I would have liked them doing it like maybe 2 weeks before or a week before, you know, because obviously they did it the week of. It would have been nice to do it maybe even just that extra week, because it would have just made more people would come. But it is what it is. I'm happy with what happened. In terms of me building up, got there early, met a few people, had a breakfast, had drinks, went into the ground like normal, you know, saw MUTV outside, did a little whatever, you know, so it was all the same. It was standing outside singing, and then obviously walking in singing, and you know, they were training, and you know, as it was getting full, I was walking around the stadium a bit, which I have done in the men's team. People think you can't do it in it. I've done it. I've walked from like the north to the west, or the north to the Stretford. I've done it before in the men's side, so why can't you do it in the women's? And you know, so I'm walking through, seeing people sitting in the north that maybe hadn't been since, you know, before COVID, and I saw them there at Old Trafford, and you know, saw Isabel, who was with us before, but her seat was in the north, and saying, you know, just go through the Concord and walk up, and then you'll be standing with us, kind of in the standing bit. But you know, everything about it was good, and I just thought that's my only worry was, is it going to get to us? Is it going to get to us? And it did. I don't think we can deny, you know, the way it started. It wasn't the way we wanted, but it got to them in that they then put in a performance that was like worthy, because I knew they weren't gonna get beat. And you know, Mark's talked about, you know, experience of playing games like this and going behind. And yeah, we haven't gone behind a lot in games in the whole history, you know, of Man United women, and actually could probably count on two hands how many times we've gone behind and then won a game. So it's all going to add into the bank of experience in a way, even though it's just Everton and all that kind of thing. But it does mean something, because you know, you can say that you've done it, and the more times you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was the same for myself. Obviously, I wish I could have enjoyed it a little bit more kind of pre-match when I got there. Obviously, me feeling not feeling great didn't help that. But I will just add, you know, in terms of everything else, kind of the week leading up, I do agree. I think the week of the game, I think they really you could tell the difference literally overnight. From Sunday night to the Monday of match week, it just changed instantly, which it was going to do. But like you both kind of said, I wish it maybe was a week or so earlier. That's been microcritical though, I think for me, because there was a lot of content. That the Mary and De Gea interview I thought was fantastic, and all those kinds of things. It was just good to see. I'll just move on to the actual game in terms of atmosphere wise. I said we'll get into the game in terms of an analysis sense of in a short while, but just from an atmosphere point of view, John, was it everything that you thought it was going to be? Obviously, we had the J stand for ourselves. There was a couple of other people that we knew kind of dotted in and around the ground, but did it live up to what you expected it to be?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think our stand, as I mentioned in the previous show, we had a lot of people around us, more than usual. So it seems like everyone turned out who would usually turn out at the LSV plus extra, which was great. We was loud. What I also noticed is, you know, usually at LSV we might start singing, but nobody else does. I think at Old Trafford, you know, you heard noise from all over the ground. You know, people were joining in. And yeah, I think, you know, the whole, well, I say over 20 minutes because you include half time as well. We knew something special was going to happen at half time, and it did. And, you know, that really added to it. And, you know, it might be worth just mentioning that a little bit as well, because, you know, what we saw there was something that should have happened. We wanted it to happen right away. And it looks like the club probably took note, or they probably planned it anyway, but fans definitely wanted to see that happen as well. So, yeah, everything was pretty much as I thought it was going to be. When we went 1-0 down, there was that moment of silence where we kind of looked at each other, and I wouldn't say I was worried at all. I never thought at one minute we was going to still lose that game, but it was just so early and such a shock. I think that was like a bit of a, oh, hang on a bit, you know, we're in for a game here. We've got to score at least twice now. But apart from that, yeah, everything was pretty much as expected for myself.
Yeah, and that's the same question for yourself then. Was it everything you kind of thought it was going to be? Because there was a slight worry kind of going in that some fans thought it's because it's a much bigger ground that maybe the noise wouldn't be felt as much on the pitch, or maybe that it would be diluted a little bit. And obviously, we've spoke on a number of shows in the past in terms of playing in men's grounds. Did that kind of play a factor, do you think, or how did you feel about the atmosphere?
This was better than, and I mean, maybe I'm biased, so I do take this into consideration, but it was better than other men's ground that I've been in because, apart from like maybe a little one in terms of like maybe like a 15k one, that's sort of, you could say that's just sort of like the LSV in the end. But this was better than other men's ground because I think a lot of people knew the players, knew the songs. I think, UNIT is a song that every United fan knows, you know what I mean? Whether they like it or not, it is what it is, you know it. So when we were singing these songs and singing about Busby Babes and singing about Stretford End Rising and singing about Take Me Home, they knew it. They felt it like it was normal. And just what John's saying about the atmosphere, and I've seen some people say it and I felt it as well. And I've seen Molly write about it. When Kurt Amesley scored, she got booed. And that's just what it's about for me. Someone scores in front of the Stretford End and then does a knee slap. What do you think is going to happen? And she got that same treatment. And I think, when the ref ruled out the goal, Martha Thomas's goal, she got booed, she got pelters, and, people were like shouting at her. And I think... And that's what I love. That's what football's about. It's that, this is our home. You're not going to sort of disrespect us. Whether you're a ref or whether you're an Everton player, I don't care. Like, you're going to get it. And, like you say, they could feel it. They could feel that we had their backs. I suppose just in that moment, they must have felt it. They must have felt, let her know, So little things like that are always welcome, and it's always what we want, and that's what I felt was good, because it was just like a normal Old Trafford game, because the songs were ringing out the same, the opposition were getting stick, the ref was getting stick, and then everyone was buzzing at the end when we were scoring the goals. And for me, I was sort of asked by I hope you don't mind me going into this, but I was sort of asked by an opposition player who supports United, obviously wasn't playing on the Sunday, but just saying couldn't make it, but was saying, was it as good as it looked? And seeing Lansdale saying sounded good in TV, and I was sort of like, that pop when Leslie scored, especially the third one, and especially when we scored in front of the Stretford End, it was good, man. And she's like, that's what you love to see, and it's Man United, man. It's bringing that kind of buzz, and I think the fact that we supported it the same. Alan Keegan's there, bigging up LSV, bigging up Army. It's just normal, And I know I'm sorry I'm going on, but the devs, when they did that 21, that was just, and I was willing them to come to us, but they must have knew we were in that corner, and they just come over, and I was just happy for them, and that's everything they deserve as well. I'm so proud.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because I remember that now when she scored. Can't remember who it was for Everton. She did a knee slide and kind of like put literally like almost like fist pump in the Stretford End, and it was almost like, I remember it now. There was that kind of like, there was a couple of seconds silence when she scored, and then it was just the booing, and it was like, it felt a bit. It was almost like game on, because I've spoken on previous show, John, you'll know this, that. I kind of said leading up to the game, it felt very much like you said, it was like an event. People were going into the game thinking it was like an expedition match, not really realizing that it's a must-win for us. If we still want, it's still a crucial league game. Whereas some fans probably went there and just, it's just a bit of a mess around, just an expedition kind of thing. And when Everton scored, it almost changed the atmosphere in terms of, right, okay, come on then, let's have it kind of attitude. And it was almost like game on. So, I do agree, actually, in terms of the atmosphere. I thought it was very good. I'm very conscious of these, obviously, bigger grounds. Different, obviously, when it's your home ground, obviously, at Old Trafford. But when we've done, like, Leicester, Birmingham, Reading was the same as well. It didn't quite have that. I don't quite know the best way of putting it, but the atmosphere didn't feel the same. You didn't have that closeness with the players, it seemed. And you couldn't, the songs didn't, I don't know, it just felt a bit weird. Leicester, especially, obviously, you two all know that. So I was a bit hesitant on that.
What did What do you think of the 20,000 number as well? Because obviously we never really spoke about that much. You talk about atmosphere, 20K. I think from what I think it was Tom Gowie who said it a little while ago. I think the plan all along was to get between 20-25, and I know that like a lot of people say like 10,000 up until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But 20K, is that kind of something that people was expecting? I think considering it was against Everton, probably we'd like more. I think if it was against City, we'd have probably broke the Etihad record. But I think 20K was pretty much
I think
going to get against Everton.
I think it just probably sounded less because there was a lot of people saying it was going to be close to 30 before the game. Now, I don't know whether it was 28 sold and only 20 turned up. That's a worry if it was. Or whether most of the people... I'll be interested to see the sales stats versus attendance stats. I think that will be the interesting one. Nat, I don't know what your thoughts on the 20K.
Yeah, I was disappointed because for ages it was nothing. I was speaking to journalists and I was saying, have you heard? I was pressuring them, have you heard? And I was saying to them about 20 and they were like, yeah. Then suddenly it came out, it was 25 and everyone was pushing this 25. And then I know on Friday, Adam Millington must have found out 28 had sold. But between... between when they started promoting, they then did this thing about free tickets. So I don't know if that sort of skewed it. Because they were like, oh, you can come for free. I do know they were pushing in schools and stuff like that, which always happens. And I think a lot of the school kids are in the Bobby, and I do know if you looked on the buy-in, a lot of the Stretford End was sold out. A lot of the Stretford End, I see Amy saying she sat there and it felt fuller. But a lot of the East stands, they said that was sold out. And that looked a bit sparse from what I was seeing. The fullest stand was obviously Sir Alex, and that looked like everyone who maybe had probably bought in there, whereas maybe a bit behind the both goals. They were probably more the giveaway ones. I don't know. But for me, I feel like I was disappointed in the number just on paper, but it was better than John, you've been to the Etihad, and I know we're not, we're City, we're not going to sit and say, oh, it's great. Maybe for them it was a great atmosphere. I don't know, but when we went to that game, I felt like it was very quiet. I felt like when they scored, obviously it was louder, but I just felt like a lot of it was coming from our end. I had someone. Well, I had Rich. Rich was sitting on the halfway line and he said he heard United and then that was it, kind of thing. So
I know we was really there because, people in the Stretford End that I spoke to saying that, yeah, we can hear you clearly. We actually made a big racket where we was. And obviously, sometimes you forget how loud you are or you're kind of blinded by it because you're just surrounded by noise and people cheering, but you don't know how far that noise actually travels when there's just like less than 100 of you. But I know from what people are saying in that Stretford End, they could hear us perfectly loud, So that was the feedback I got.
Yeah, and just to add on that before we move on, Ellie, I'll come to your question in just a moment because we'll get the negative out of the way before we move on to the positive of the actual game. But just quickly on the attendance, because I said to you, John, just before we went into the ground, I can't remember who it was. Some journalist tweeted that there was going to be 31.5. I can't remember who it was, but it was a very respected journalist at the time, and it was about 2 hours before kickoff. Said that 31,500 had been sold, and obviously when the attendance came out, it was 20K. I was like, that's 10K less than what was reported. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I didn't think it was that low. But yeah, it was. I said in the past, though, I think 20K, if 100, 200 of those get over to LSV regularly, it's done its job. It's got new fans across to LSV, so hopefully some of those people move across. Ellie, I'll come to your comment first because I want to get the negative out of the way before we talk about, obviously, the positives from the game. Either of you can jump on this one, talking about the linesmen and the refs. Now, being at Old Trafford, it's on Sky Sports. Again, we've seen it highlight, and I don't want to make it all about officials and how, the kind of dodgy, but we saw again, if we lose top three, and it's not just solely on this, but let's say, play an example. If we lose top three on 2 goal difference or 1 goal difference, we've had honours ruled out. Obviously, I know Russo scored and Murtough Thomas's as well now. That could potentially cost, when in a season where it's so tight and it could become down to goal difference. It baffled me and even people around me that we could all see that ball was out for the Everton goal, I think. And obviously, Murtough Thomas, it was nowhere near, you can see it obviously on the still as well. So Nat, I don't know whether you want to go first on that one, but it just seems
when Goalline Technology first came in for the men's game, it was because it was in the World Cup in front of, well, everyone watches the World Cup, and it crossed and it bounced over the line in England. I mean, that's just why, but it would have changed the dynamic of that game. What I will say is, we ended up scoring 3 goals anyway and all that, and then Russo followed up anyway. But I just think that, we go 3-1 up then with Murtough. That was party vibes then. We were ready. Everyone was ready. That could have been 4-5, 6, you know what I'm saying? That, and I just think you don't need to anticipate how much it's cut, and like you say, that it could cost us in the end for just this kind of thing. And it's something that we just said off air. It really annoys me that people come out and say, oh, well, you can't boo refs, you can't say this about them, it's not their fault. Yeah, of course it's not their fault. They're part-time. They've got a job tomorrow. They had a job probably like me and you. All of us here have jobs. And it's not right, because there is so much money and there's so much riding on it. Us going in the Champions League can change our sort of the whole outcome of this club. We end up making millions from it, So it isn't fair that they're having to make decisions that are going to cost someone millions of pounds, and it's not even their full-time job. But this is when then the FA need to step up. They've got control of this league. They're putting it on Sky. They're doing this. They're making commercial. They just announced today another partner. They're going to show it in Germany, and how much are they going to get paid off that? So it is sort of there. And I just think the fact that they can find, they found an extra 10 times the amount of money for the FA Cup, and they're saying this is new money, right? And we all know the FA Cup needed more money, so go and find that new money for the refs, because that money is there. Look how much more deals you've probably done from Old Trafford. Look how they've announced deals for thingy. I'm seeing it every day. Deals announced, women's football. This person's doing this new job, women's football. So there's money there. It's just about it making sure it's going to the right places. And like you say, with the FA Cup, it looks like it is going to go to the right place. But they only did that FA Cup the minute the pressure was on.
Yeah.
So people are sitting there saying, well, this is the way it is, and women's football, and this is how it's been. If you just sit there and take it, they're never going to change it. If you sit and embarrass them and show them, and listen, they're embarrassed, obviously. They're not obviously embarrassed by the thing. It has to be like a collective voice where we all sort of say, because no other fans are going to say, Everton fans, for example, will just sort of say, oh, we got away with that one, it's all right, you know what I mean? And I'm sure if it went the other way, we'd say, oh, we got away with that one, it's all right. But it's not all right. It's not all right ever. And for me, I think we need to have the full-time refs, full stop. There's no kind of argument over that. Yes, refs can still make mistakes. And then I think a Goalline Technology, we're seeing in the Euros, it's coming in. We've seen even in the Champions League, VAR is in, and there was lots of issues around that. So I wouldn't rush to put any VAR or anything like that. But I would be rushing for the full-time refs and the Goalline Technology.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing that we haven't spoken about refs that much lately, because we're getting used to it. We're getting used to the way it is. We're getting, it's like we've accepted it, and we shouldn't be accepting it. And Natalie says something that I was about to say. We're not actually blaming individuals. We're not saying that, the individuals having a bad game per se. They're just not good enough. It's as simple as that. We just need to invest more money into better refs. It's as simple as that. It just needs to be more training. It needs to be, there needs to be a proper pathway for referees, as well as, we talk about pathway for players, but for referees as well, so they can raise their standards. But it is getting to a point now where we don't even talk about it because we've accepted it as fans, and we shouldn't, So yeah.
Trying to clip a video.
I could just checking to make sure it was working while you kind of imagine if it wasn't live.
I can't add too much off the back of what you two have said there. I think that is exactly what it is, isn't it? It's just, yeah, it's frustrating. I hope it doesn't obviously come back to costing them, but that makes a good point. Yes, we still won it, and this is why I think it's important to still mention it after a win, because when you come out after a draw or a loss, you sound a bit salty and you sound like you're blaming the ref when we're not. Whereas if you say it after a win, you can say, well, we still won the game, yes, but this happened. So thankfully we obviously we moved on in the game. But like Nat said, if that third would have gone in at the time it went in, you've got a long period of time. I think it was 20 minutes or so. We could have got a third, fourth, and so on.
Well, that's it.
But we had to wait until the last minute to get that.
There are two decisions that led to goals, or that, because it wasn't just like, oh, it was offside, or it wasn't offside that didn't lead to anything, or a challenge or anything like that. This is, one led to a goal against us, and one should have been a goal for us. These are big decisions. You don't get any bigger in football. It's led to a goal, or it's led to a disallowed goal or something, and it's this is the way you need to look at.
Yeah, 100%. We're moving on to the positives of the game then. Now, I've got 3 players in mind. Obviously, feel free for... We'll go through each one kind of individually and see if there's anyone else as well. But the game as a whole, we'll start with to begin with. John, I'll come to you first on it. Like I said, we went 1-0 down. Obviously, came back in just before half-time. That was crucial for me that we came back in just before half-time level, at least. As I mentioned on the last show, in terms of the character of the players, to pick themselves back up, massive occasion. They've gone 1 down after 3 minutes, and they've picked themselves back up and gone back in. But just without going into too much detail on the players, obviously that I'm going to mention, just what did you think of the game as a whole, John, in terms of the way that we fought back and obviously got the 3 points in the end?
Yeah, I mean, when we went 1-0 down, I was never really worried it was going to lose the game. However, it's going to be playing on the players' minds, and we know from this season, sometimes when the pressure's on, we're not always great. So to come back in the way that we did, because we regained our composure. It took a little while to do that, but it's a 90-minute game. If the first 20 minutes isn't going for you, there's still a long way to go, and to get that goal before half-time meant a hell of a lot. And then start the second half well. To get that second goal, and then he could start enjoying it a little bit more. Obviously, we should have got the third, and we did eventually. But look, it wasn't. I don't think it was our best game in regards to the amount of chances that we had. But don't forget, Everton, they're not like a poor team. This isn't a Championship team or an FA Cup against Bridgewater. That's what it was. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, this is like still a WSL team. Everton wanted to come and spoil the party. We are the best team. We should be winning, but that's not always the case, is it? So, to still win 3-1 on a day where it wasn't to settle. We weren't settled. This wasn't a normal game at Leeds Sports Village on the usual the usual game. This is massive. So to still get the win 3-1 and to still, I wouldn't say dominate the whole game, but we dominated in big parts. It's very commendable.
Yeah, and that same question for yourself, really, in terms of the game as a whole. Were you, like John, were you worried, or not worried after they scored, or were you relatively comfortable that we'd get back into it?
No, I was worried. I'm not like worried, but I think I sort of said at the start, or I can't remember when I said it, but I can probably count on cross 2 hands definitely how many times we've gone behind. And I know one time was Everton, and we've done it before, but this season, I can't really remember how many times we've gone behind and won games. I don't know, guys in the comments, if you can say it. I can't think of any when we've gone behind and won. So I think this is the first time on the Skinner when we've done it. Like I said, across our history, it's probably 5 times, So it's just an extra thing to add into the tank to say that we've done it. But yeah, I'm proud because, like you say, Everton aren't a pushover, and obviously they came out and they weren't. It's still like, I don't know if we did it against West Ham, I'd be more like confident because I think they're a bit further ahead. As are, who else we got? Brighton are a bit further ahead, but I'm still, I think, well, I know we're going to go on to players, but, you know, I know for me, they really stepped up. They really stepped it up. It's what we need to see. We need to, you know, have them doing bits. I think, well, yeah, Norman, I agree with you. She was the focal point for us. She was, well, she scored the goal, but it was all coming through Russo a lot. And, you know, I think once we got used to playing and we knew we had a fan, and I think, yeah, the fans helped them because they said they could hear us throughout. So I think that helped them.
We may as well talk about her straight away because she was the class act. I mean, you know, John, we just said on the reaction show, there was a few players to me that showed. I think you saw yesterday. If you're going for the first time, I think you saw the good players in our squad and you saw the world class players in our squad. I think you saw that kind of difference in the few players that I'm going to mention in a moment. But Russo to start with, John. I mean, 2 goals. You know, not only the goals. I think her work rate on and off the ball. The fact that, you know, she can shield the ball, and I think Charlie said in the reaction, you know what she's going to do, but no defender seems to be able to stop her when she's, you know, on the turn. So, yeah, just speak to me about Russo, John, because she absolutely ran the show.
I think what you said about the difference between a good player and a world-class player, I think that does show, because week in, week out, we talk about Russo's strengths. And that is the difference. You know, if you're world-class, it means that you do it week in, week out. Anyone can have a good game or a purple patch for 2 or 3 games. Russo just seems to do it game in, game out. So all I can do is just repeat everything that we've said in previous shows. Obviously, this is going out on the main account, so you might be new watching this, so we will go into a bit of detail. But what Russo does bring is, you know, she's very pacey. So when she's got the ball at her feet, she can drive her players and get past them fairly easily. She can shrug off the defenders quite well. She holds the ball up brilliantly. You know, she could have 2 or 3 players on her and still manage to pick out a pass. The goal scoring, her shot power is second to none in her team. As we always mentioned, you know, we find it the hard way when in training, when we're behind the goals. Yeah, and she is just an absolute talent. You know, the amount of goals that she scored this season, with her head as well. You know, she's just a quality all-round striker, and she's only young. She's probably going to get better and better. The relationship that she's getting with the players around her will help her as well score more goals, because she'll be able to have more chances. And she's up there, and we say this, you know, almost week in, week out. So this isn't like a one-time thing. You know, she's looking like she's going to be world class, and you know the Lionesses will have to start calling very soon. They have to stand up and recognise her.
Yeah, and that same question for yourself. I think it was one of my I think I've mentioned this for some reason to somebody that, you know, one of my very first shows with you mentioned Russo and talking about, because we were talking about lack of kind of attacking options. I think you said to me at the time that if she stays fit, she can be one of the best strikers in the league. Now, she's 1 goal off Miedemar. I don't think she's going to quite catch Sam Kerr, but she potentially could get second in WSL in terms of top scorer. How good has she been? And obviously, she delivered on the biggest stage yesterday.
Oh, like, she's world class. I think the first time I met her, like, actually when we were back in stadiums, and I think it was even the City game 2-2 or something around those games, and I just said, you're world class. Like, you need to know it, you need to believe it, you need to show it. And I think I'm going to be harsh now. Skinner said something after, and he said, listen, Russo, don't need to say about her. It's fantastic. But we need to see it week in, week out. We need to see it every game. We need to see that consistency. I'm not saying she doesn't have it, because obviously we're looking at, you know, that Reading game. Basically, she, you know, we were riding her back and she scored the goals, you know. And yeah, we talk about, you know, Honor scored and she followed it in. But even before that, first, second, picked up the ball, bang, off the post. And that's the kind of thing, you know, she's holding it up now. She's turning it off. I mean, I know we've got stick, Connor, me and you, and we said, oh, outside forward and this kind of thing. Can she be a 9? But I mean, Ellie's talked about a Brun. I think Brun coming in. I think since Brun was signed, seen the best Russo as 9. And I think it's because she knows she's got that player now on your back. And I think the only time when I thought, oh, bloody hell, we need Russo, like Russo fit level Russo, was West Ham. And I know I'm going back, but I know it was 3 games in a week and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, you don't want to see it. But if you want to be Champions League, you want to be winning cups, you are going to have these games. And yeah, you want to be able to rotate. And we couldn't at that game as much. But, it is that kind of seeing the world, the good players, and then you see that world class. And, Russo pushed us over the line yesterday. And it was just fantastic, and the only thing he said was, want to see that Russo every time, every 90 minutes. I want to see that out of her. Obviously, I don't want to break her and make her collapse and have an injury, and I mean, she was great for against West Ham, but then she was tired, and that's just what we need them to do it all the way through. But the fact that she's one off Miedemar says all I need to know, mate. Says all I need to know. She'll beat Miedemar. And then what they're going to say. So, she is world class.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with everything that's just been said there. We'll move on to onto the second player that I wanted to highlight personally, because there's a lot of chat about her in the comments at the moment, and that's Honor. Obviously, it played at fullback. To me, I mentioned her before the game because I said weeks ago, and I've said it on the show that me and John and Andrew did. 5 players to watch out for. I think Honor is the one player in our squad that has never dropped below a 7 or an 8 out of 10 this season. In every game we've watched, I don't think she'd ever drop below that. And I said earlier that on an Old Trafford pitch, you'll see the world-class players. And just, I don't think, and I know you two will probably agree as well, I don't think there's actually a player close to her in her position right now, certainly in the WSL. She showed that again yesterday. John, just talk to me. Oh, go on, Nat, if you want to.
I just want to say, I said the day that we signed, because I think we had this channel, John, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I said, watch Honor. Yeah. Forget about signing Lucy Bronze. Forget about signing Alex Greenwood. Honor Bache will be the best fullback in the league. And now look at you talking about him as the best fullback in the league. That's all I've got to say, man.
Go on, John. I'll let you talk to me about Honor's performance yesterday.
Well, yesterday it's the same as every day. You says she hasn't dropped below a 7 or 8 out of 10 this season. You can throw last season in that as well. She was our player of the season last season, in a season where we had the likes of Tobin Heath, where we was only 1 point away from Champions League last season. We had a good season last season, and Honor was still player of the season for us last season, and she's a contender this season as well. She is. Because, again, I'll just go back to my point when I was talking about Russo. Consistency, game in, game out, going forward, going back. You talk about the Man United way. We was all brought up with 4 backs who can get forward and do a job getting back. And now it looks like she's developing a game playing on the skin as well, because it's a different style of play. So she's learning something new there and she's adapting. But she's enjoying it as well. And that's the thing. You come to a different country. This is why it's even better, because she's not English. She's come to Spain by herself. Probably, not very fluent in the language. She's come here, and not only has she adapted from day one, she's doing it, and she's outclassing all of her opponents. And okay, I'm sure some of the Chelsea fans, City fans, Arsenal fans could name some of their players as well. But Honor's had more obstacles up against her, and she's at least equal. So, by saying that she's at least equal with all the obstacles that she's had up against, you got to put her up there. I don't know if it was in these comments or the comments on the last show, but someone saying about a Ballon d'Or. It's just a shame the fullbacks don't get that recognition. I know, okay, Lucy Bronze, and that's because she's been around for a long time as well. But generally, Honor needs to be mentioned in these kind of conversations. If you are the best in your position, especially in the WSL, which is an amazing league, then you have to start, taking it seriously. And I think people are now.
Yeah, 100%. And Lancel says it there, Honor gets into any top team in the WSL in Europe. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Is there anything that you wanted to add on Honor's performance yesterday?
I said what I need to say, man, about Honor. Because where are they now? Where are they talking now? They're not talking. Honor is the best. I just sign a contract. That's all we're waiting for with Honor. Just sign the contract.
100%. Fingers crossed. And the last player I wanted to mention, I don't know whether there's any that these guys wanted to mention as well, but the other player that really stood out to me was Jacky. Now, to me, I think The midfield, I think, struggled particularly in the first 20 minutes. I don't think we could get a grip of the ball. I think it surprised us that Everton were pressing us, actually. But Jacky, to me, I think it just showed her quality on a bigger pitch more than we see, obviously, on match days. It kind of goes under the radar sometimes. But John, how good was Jacky yesterday? I mean, she absolutely controlled that midfielder, passing range. Obviously, we'd all like her to shoot a little bit more and contribute maybe more, goals and assists.
That's from a selfish point of view, isn't it? Sorry, Connor, but that's from a selfish point of view. We want to see Jacky score, because it's such a big thing now. But she doesn't put her foot wrong, does she? So, okay, she doesn't score. It's not the end of the world. That's a different conversation. She brings a lot to that team, or she wouldn't be getting picked. She's keeping Bob Reese throughout the team. It's as simple as that, and you don't do that without playing well. As for yesterday, we said in the build-up, indeed, on this kind of pitch, in this environment, the cream rises to the top. You'll get that space. You got to think ahead. You can create things. You need to learn how to get into the right place early to block out passes across that midfield. And she does that. And the reception that she had when she came off the pitch was absolutely amazing. It means so much to her, and you can see that in her work rate. And that's not just Jacky, by the way. That is all the players. But Jacky, just meant so much to her that game. And as always, she gave her all. So yeah, fantastic to see. And obviously, Skinner's got a decision to make now going into that next game because players are becoming available. But yeah, just while Natalie's spinning around there, losing internet connection. I mean, what were your thoughts on Jacky's performance?
Yeah, I mean, to me, she just showed her quality. Like I said, the passing range, very tenacious. Like I said, when she loses the ball, like I said, she's the first to get it back, and that's a real key. What's the word? Attribute to have. And like you said there, the reception she got coming off the pitch, it definitely was the loudest.
Also, I think
we had.
What suited in that game as well is she was probably used to these kind of atmospheres, but maybe not as big as that, but being part of that, a European Cup winner, World Cup runner-up, she's used to the big games, and she probably dealt with it probably better than some of the youngsters that we had potentially. So yeah, I think the game suited her. We kind of knew that it would. And yeah, it was very good to see. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You said Jacky stood out for you. If I could mention another player, then I'd probably just throw Katie in there, just because another goal and assist, level head. So if you was going to say Jacky, then I'll throw that one in. But it looks like Natalie's back now to give her thoughts on Jacky.
Yeah, for me, Jacky was the best player. Well, one of the best players in midfield for me. I know we talk about assists and all that. I know I did hear you saying that before about John, and you wanted to shoot. And I saw her after the game, and the girl who was with sort of said, "Oh, I seen you try to lob the keeper," and she laughed, and she was like, "Yeah." So I know she will want to score as well. I know we're putting this pressure, but I don't think she sees it as a pressure. I think she wants to make us happy, and I think she will score. I just think it's a matter of when, or she might not ever score, and if she doesn't. But the thing is with Jacky, right? She dictates the middle of that park, and just the way she picks the ball up. I mean, a lot of the things with Jacky, it's like the pre-assist, and she is moving the ball from the back to the front, and I think it was, I don't know who it was, but it's someone like passed it to Jacky. Jacky passed it off. I think it was like Tooney passed it to Jacky, back to Tooney, back to Jacky, but out to Honor in the box. Honor got the assist for the goal, but then no one really talks about how Jacky moved it from sort of the halfway line up to Honor kind of thing. So, she's, I wouldn't say she's underrated because everyone loves Jacky, but she is sort of not talked about enough, if you get what I mean. I saw a lot of the media was sort of saying 6 out of 10 for Jacky, and I'm thinking, no, for me, she was sort of the top standout player. And I think, I suppose if you see Katie making the assist, you see Tooney doing whatever Tooney's doing, Russo scoring the goals, you then think, oh, what did Jacky do? But if you sort of sit and watch it and see how she just dictates the play, and it's different when Jacky's playing. I know you sort of said about Vilda keeping her out, but for me, Vilda's a bit maybe further forward, a bit as a 10 and or as the 8. I don't know. For me, he has to start now trying to think get Vilda in next, and then obviously get Brunning as well. But it's not my job, but he's got to do it.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't want to be Mark trying to fit all these players back in. Like you said there, Brun's got to come back in potentially at some point. And Lanzo said, yeah, I mean, it looked closer than it probably was. I think from where we were watching it live, it felt really close. I think watching it back, it probably was going wide anyway. But yeah, I mean, that would have took the roof off.
If Jacky scored, though, that would have took the roof off more.
Yeah. Well, I just want to talk because a lot of people was like seeing that Jacky sort of standing ovation and the way she was singing. I will say about Jacky, I remember the first game at LSV. She sort of took that all in, if I remember back then, and it was sort of, that's sort of what Jacky does. She sort of goes to the furthest end of the pitch so she can clap all corners, and obviously Old Trafford is the perfect place to have done it. And damn right, she got a good standing ovation, and she loved it. She was happy. She's the happiest I've seen her in a while. So I'm very confident of her signing a new deal soon. But that's just based on what I feel, not on anything that I know.
Fingers crossed. There's a few players we'd like to tie down. Just quickly then, before we move on onto the last section of the show, any final thoughts, John, obviously on the game and just player of the match for you?
Regarding moving forward, obviously we've got to win our last remaining games, simple as that, and that's probably going to include Chelsea. The Old Trafford event spectacle was there to help raise awareness for our women's team. It's done that, but we need to follow it up. So we need to continue supporting and raising that awareness to get fans into stadiums at LSV. And that might mean that the club has to think outside the box and do things that they may not wanted to have done a couple of seasons ago. But I think the time is right now, keep that momentum going. Player of the match, yeah, I'm going to be a bit boring, but I'm going to have to say Russo. Yeah.
Yeah, the same for yourself, Matt.
Yeah, Russo, and just echoing what John said about, doing things they might want to do, helping do a bus, something they need to. I mean, what I will say, they have put it straight away out, boom, the next game, come again, use pictures from Old Trafford and told people to come again. But, you need to make it easy for them, get a bus on, make it easy, make it accessible.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, I said it on the reaction show because I like to be different. I'm actually going to give Honor player of the match for me. Nothing against Russo. She deserves it. But just because I want to be different. And Honor was probably, to me, the second best out there. Obviously got the assist, and she didn't put a foot wrong again. And that's what we see week in, week out with her. So, yeah, I'd give it to her. We're just going to talk a little bit about kind of the Old Trafford, obviously, redevelopment, linking it with kind of the board and the way I kind of want to spin this, John, I'll let you go first on this, is there's been a lot of positivity the last week or so. Obviously, it's been men's international break. Whoever's in charge, obviously United, making relevant decisions, have done a very good job. Obviously, we spoke about this at the start of the show in terms of pushing this game at Old Trafford, all the positivity around Manchester United recently. Obviously, the men's have been on international break. They come back to Old Trafford, obviously, this weekend, this Saturday, at home to Leicester. What are your thoughts then, obviously, moving forward? If you were a board member, if you were involved in anywhere at Old Trafford, obviously making decisions, what would you do to try and push the positivity now to the men's side as well? What do you think they can do to try and generate some of that? Because it's been very positive around the women's team. Everything's great. But we know as soon as the men get back there at Old Trafford, if we lose at home to Leicester, we could be in trouble.
Well, that's down to obviously player mentality on the pitch. We've got decent players, we've got decent managers. We've had that for years, but for whatever reason, the club's not stable enough, and there seems to be a lot of distractions. You see the players getting distracted on the pitch, or the lack of discipline on the pitch, one or the other, because the quality should be there. We see players perform for their countries or in their previous clubs, so they've got quality. There's quality there. Whether or not it's championship quality, maybe not, but it should definitely be Champions League quality. So for me, I will be looking. It doesn't matter who you bring in. So I don't want to see like it happened last summer, where you bring in 3 transfers to get the fans happy for a month, and then it goes backwards again. I don't want to be seeing that. For me, I want to build on this structure. So obviously Ed Woodward's gone there. Let's see what happens in the next 6 months, see what's going to happen there, and just put something in place where there's a proper discipline, where players are fearful of the manager's fearful of his job because he's got to make the right decisions. That director of football, of course, is in place. What's that role actually doing? So that's the kind of stuff I want to be seeing now. I want people to actually know that they have to perform, or else they're not going to be at the club. It's as simple as that, and that's at all levels. You could spin a positive and say, look, back in the summer, the board says we're going to do this, that, and the other. One of the things they said was we're going to listen to the fans, and they have these fans forums, 4 or 5 times a year. They're going to revamp Old Trafford. They're looking like them doing that. They've done a bit of work at the start of the season. And obviously, loads of rumours going around now what's going to happen. But unfortunately, to me, they've had plenty of time to do this already. It's a bit like Nat said earlier about something else, about this was about the FA, about the FA only acting when fans act. Are the board only acting now because they feel like they have to? Either way, so long as they're doing something, and they're moving it forward, then it doesn't really matter now, so long as they do something. But I think the positivity in the women's game, I think it's going to take quite a while for it to be replicated in the men's game.
Yeah, Nat, where do you kind of stand on this? Obviously, we all follow both teams quite a lot now. Where do you kind of stand? The same question I kind of asked John, really, in terms of, is it as simple as, obviously we talk about the Old Trafford redevelopment, as there's been a lot of positivity around the women's team. How do they translate that into the men's team, obviously coming in on Saturday, if there is a way?
Just say it again, just because sorry, really quick. It just flipped out for a minute.
That's all right. I'm just talking, just whether if you were kind of in charge at anywhere, in terms of it from a United point of view, how you'd keep the positivity going from the game yesterday and try and translate that into the men's teams.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it? It's going to be difficult. I don't know. It's hard because you can just see with the way that it's going in the men's side. It's not. I think it's deeper. It's running deeper than just sort of maybe a couple of players are unhappy that they're not starting. It's the top to bottom. I mean, I think Lanzell's even talking about football structure. What is the structure? We know there's a director of football. We know there's a technical director. I think they want to do things right, but then, I mean, I listened to Andy Mitten talk, and he says even though there'll be people there that want to do things right, we've had, Gary Neville say there are good people there. The way that it has to go to sort of, saying Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold, then it has to go to America and they have to sign off on it, and then they want to know all the little details, finer numbers. Well, if you want to know, come and have a look. It's not sure. You're the owners. You sort of control the purse strings. You don't want to know the finer details when it's about how much you're getting paid, but you want to know the finer details about, something that's going to benefit us in the long run, like, adding an extra stand to the south stand, building a 6-7 seater stadium for your academy, 1,000 I'm on about, adding in extra gyms in Carrington, all these things you want to know finer details about, but you're happy to just take 4 or 5 million during pandemics and stuff. Well, where's the finer details there? So it feels like until they go, maybe it might not change, but we know they're not going to go. There's this pressure now, and I know people might not think that, like, must have done enough, but we could sit here and protest over, who's going to be the next owner, then sort of Arabs come in, or what happens with Chelsea. It's all these kind of things. Always undesirable owners will come. It needs to be, even really going back to the FA, the government are putting this thing about, independent. I know we're going off the subject, but independent regulators, fit and proper owners. These things we've suffered. So I think, the Glazers are saying that fans are going to be able to buy share schemes and all that kind of stuff, but it needs something like that. It needs someone to come in and maybe take it. I don't know fully, but I do think that eventually, the structure, they are adding more things. It will benefit, I think, Ralph going in there as well, just football people. That's what I think will change it.
Can I just add something just very quickly? I think, you kind of said like about how do we get like this positivity onto like that the men's side now. I don't mean to I'm hoping I'm not gonna offend anyone here, but I think the fans of the women's team do find it a little bit more easier to be happy, and I think that's down to results on the pitch. For example, we're happy if an interview goes out with Mary Earps this week. In fact, we're very happy with that. An interview comes out with Tooney singing. We're very happy with that. If the same thing happens in the men's game and Pogba's singing, or if somebody else is having an interview, it's not enough. You read the comments on Twitter and it's like, oh, this player should be playing better, or this player should be playing better. And I know that's part of the fans, part of the player, but I do think a lot of the happiness just comes from results on the pitch. So I think, I think the women's team, we were a bit more lucky that we're actually going through a decent spell. Go on, Nat. Go on.
I don't know, John, because I do agree with you. I'll always be happy if I see them happy, because I know them, I know Tooney, I know Mary, so obviously if they're happy, I'm happy. But, we're going through, maybe you could say a couple of weeks ago, we were going through the same thing. We lost, we dropped points against Arsenal, we lost to City, we lost in the Cup to City, we dropped points at West Ham. So I'm not happy, it's the same sort of thing. But, the men got beat by Everton, and actually that was actually a performance where I could say they actually put in something that you could say effort, I know that's not how we shouldn't be celebrating that, but compared to other performances, they put in something that was worth, a bit of I won't say credit, but then when I saw Maguire coming out, then when I saw Rashford coming out, to that kind of level of abuse, man, and people are sort of saying, oh, well, Rashford, he should be able to take, why should he take it? I look at sort of when we've got battered by Chelsea, and I still won't think and look at, recently, some players have made mistakes to hold their hands up, and I don't even want them to even come out and say, sorry, because that doesn't wind me up, when you see all this, oh, I'm sorry. But, I still don't think and turn around at that said players and say, you're effing shit and this and that. The video that I saw of Harry Maguire, that was just, I've never seen anything like that. I've watched United, I'm 30 years old now, but, I've been going since I was 12, not regularly, then I started to go more when I was 16, and I've never seen anything like that. Maybe it's a different generation thing, but I couldn't think to turn around and properly going on a Man United player like that. But that's, like I said, maybe my standards are slipping if I couldn't do that. But yeah.
No, I actually agree, and I think this is where it comes back to maybe the disconnect between the fans and the players, maybe on the men's side, and that's something I think that the club need to try and bring back. Maybe Old Trafford. I don't think everyone's hyping this up in terms of the Old Trafford redevelopment, in terms of that's going to be our big saviour. I don't think it will. I think the club needs a lot more than that to bring the positivity back, or particularly on that side. To me, it's all about rebuilding the disconnect, because I think when Ollie was there, and I don't want to bring it back to that too much, but when he was there, it kind of, you felt the connection. Then it kind of felt a bit close to the team, and obviously that kind of faded away towards the end. And I don't know, it's difficult, and it's a difficult job for whoever it is. Obviously, there's been a lot of uproar today, obviously, with Van Gaal's comments, talking about Ten Hag, that he shouldn't be going to United. I don't know what everyone's stance is on that, but I think he's right.
I just want to say, what Van Gaal said, though, is true. It's true, because I think I watched something that Kieran Maguire put out, and he was talking about commercial, and he was talking about when Man United used to win trophies, so that's how the commercial revenue was boosted. And then suddenly the Glazers came in and said, oh, we can boost the commercial revenue even more than this. And yeah, probably they can do. And Ed Woodward came in on that side and did a great job. But then it must have been, I can't remember, about 2000. Oh, it doesn't affect, performances don't affect commercial, but they do. And then he's shown how City have steadily invested, not just in their first team, in the area around it, in making it, the academy, making it like, I think we'd even talked about making it like a little media city kind of thing, steadily investment. And now what's happening there? More people commercial partners are coming. And I think it was just the Glazers came, they saw that it's a money making. Man United clicks, you know, all that kind of stuff. Man United will always make money, and yeah, it will always make money. But I just want to touch on what you said, kind of about when Ollie came in. You did feel that connection, and I've been at games where they've lost, but Ollie always. And I think Ralph comes over as well, but it did feel different, and it did feel more together under Ollie. Even towards the end when it didn't, you know, we were getting battered, but you know, that's my opinion. It did feel more connected. That doesn't mean that it probably wasn't right when he went, but I feel like Ten Hag. I was on the radio the other day and I was speaking to that Dutch journalist, and you know, he said, you know, Man United have had all these Galacticos and all these kind of things. We've had great managers. Louis van Gaal is a great manager. Jose Mourinho is a great manager, but we need someone with a philosophy. I'm not saying Louis van Gaal because that's the only word he ever went on about, but you know, we need someone with a vision. We need someone who's going to build, and you know, Ten Hag is that. You know, he won't come in and ask for millions. He'll be about the youth. He'll bring it through. And I think I've read something that's what they like, that he's going to bring in this style of play. And I think a lot of our fans maybe need to move away from Man United way. This is how we play and all that kind of stuff. And this is what we should be doing, because under Ollie, people were upset that we were a counter-attacking team, but we got results. And then he sort of had to change himself. But why do we have to change himself? If we're a counter-attacking team, we can win. Mm-hmm. Surely that's what it's about. But again, what do I know?
Well, I agree with you. So you're saying, what do you know? I do agree. Yeah, it's like I said, to me, this is probably from the men's side, and I think from a board level, you know, side as well. We saw what obviously happened with the Super League and everything else. That's probably going to come back at some point, by the way. You know, you got everything else with Old Trafford redevelopment. Obviously, for the promises that the Glazer family put on, particularly Joel obviously coming on, and you know, all these movement. You know, Ed Woodward leaving and different people moving in different positions. We've got a managerial change. This to me is probably the most important 6 months that it's going to be for Manchester United, because if they get this wrong again, it could be years and years before we're trying. But if they get this right, get the right people in the right positions, start looking at Old Trafford, start looking at these things, then maybe we might be able to start pushing. Because I don't think the team is as bad as people say it is a lot of the time. I think confidence is playing a big factor in a lot of these players. I just want to ask you one final question. I can be words out. I want to ask you both one final question each. It's kind of a shorter answer. Obviously, we saw the women play at Old Trafford yesterday, as we've discussed most of this show. Next season, if you could have your kind of picks, how many games would you have at Old Trafford next season? Because obviously some fans want every game there. Some fans want just the one because it makes it more of an occasion. Where do you two, John, I'll come to you first. I see you kind of looking away. Where do you stand on this?
We kind of had this conversation with Emma Sanders. Like, I think Emma Sanders said something like 3 or something like that. And I get it. But like, it's like, I don't want it to become like a thing. Like, you know, I enjoy it when it happens. I really do. And I completely get that it needs to happen probably more than once for it to actually work, you know. But Leeds Sports Village is our home ground. There's only 11 home games a season anyway in the league. It's tough, but I just want to be doing. If we're at Old Trafford, I want to be doing it for the right reasons, and you know, I think I just don't want to force those kind of things. So for me, you know, once a season is enough for me. If it happens 2 or 3, I'll enjoy it, you know, but I just don't want too much of a good thing, you know. Once a season is good, maybe against a better team or a more well-supported team or something, just to kind of, you know, Everton, I get it, and you know, we've debated this a long time, you know, why Everton, why that week, and you know, you can see the reasons why, but I'd rather it be against a slightly better team and a well-supported team than Everton. And I'm sure that's the thing that they probably don't even look at that. You know, they have to look at, you know, when Old Trafford's available, when's the best time to do it for the club. And it probably just fell on the Everton week. But no, I like to see it once, but I like to see it against a better team.
Yeah, I just, what was said, I think Lanzell said it, I wouldn't like to see it against Liverpool. I think the last time we played Liverpool at LSV, it was like the best atmosphere we've had at LSV. Were you at that one, John?
Mm.
Oh, Connor, it was so good. So good. I can't wait to play them. That is the one game that I'm so excited. And I think if we get to go to their ground, I'm just so excited for Liverpool. Not for them coming up, but just to play them. And I think we'll batter them. But I think it all depends as well for me. If we make Champions League, I would like to see a Champions League night at Old Trafford for the women. And then that could be the second one. You know, one in the league, one in the Champions League. And we made it. So maybe 2 in the league. Yeah, I get James. I mean, everyone, if we could do it for the Liverpool, and I think they will. You know what the FA is like? They like to put the City on a big weekend, on the end of these women's football weekends. So I can definitely see them putting Liverpool on this, because obviously they picked this weekend because it was international break. They could usually call it Women's Football Weekend. I think there were 2 overall that it was at Old Trafford, so it's just the Old Trafford weekend. But listen, I'd love to obviously see Liverpool, and I just think that'll get in more people just because it's Liverpool. And, like what James says, like we're going to smash them, and I think they would know that they would have to smash them. So that'll be good. And then if we're in Champions League, when we get Champions League, I'd like to see one of the nights at Old Trafford, because I just think under the lights it'd be even better for me. So that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think if we get Champions League, then definitely at least one, if not all, of the home group stage matches. Or obviously, I know we'd have to go into the qualifier before that. Just at Old Trafford, there's no reason why I don't think that couldn't happen. And Liverpool, it's got to be that one. Liverpool or City for me. Obviously, you got to be a bit careful because, like you said, John, in the past, obviously, if we stick a big game on and get beat heavily, obviously that could
I think
deter some fans. But
now that we've played there once with fans, it's not as bad. I think the first time that we played with fans, I think we had to win. Whereas obviously I'm not lowering my standards there, but I don't think we'll need that excuse again. If you know what I mean?
No, 100%. So I'm with the consensus. I think 2 next season, or 3 or 4 or 5 if we get Champions League. I'd stick them all there personally. But I also agree that there's not that many home games in the season. I think 11 you said, John, or you don't want to stick every game there or over half, because then it doesn't feel like the occasion. Then it just becomes the norm, and you may as well move there permanently if you're going to start doing most of your games there. So we'll wrap it up there. Nat, John, thanks for coming on. Nat, you can get you some rest now, because I know you've had a long day and not just a long day, a long 10 days or so. Obviously with the women's side as well. Obviously, make sure you check out All Things WRC as well. Got a lot of stuff over there this week as well. And obviously on this channel, it's match day week again after the international break. I don't know. I should know. John's show, I believe, is back Wednesday.
What day is it this week? No, it's going to be Thursday, 10 o'clock, because Wednesday I'm not available. I think that's what it is. So I'm doing a Thursday show,
probably working again. So, and we've got all the content obviously leading up to the Leicester game and a match reaction obviously at the weekend. So make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys soon.